I also get that titles such as the one I don't like are used because it gets clicks. It gets clicks and it gets views. So is there any way we can actually stop doing that, even if it means sacrificing views? Because if we're going to make bold claims like that that are just not true, how is that actually truly helping those who wish to learn? Can it get people to learn important things? Sure. But I don't see why we have to always use outlandish claims in our video titles just to get clicks. I think it would be a lot better if everyone started being more honest in their titles in order to actually help people get this information the best way possible. Let's stop making bold claims in our titles, please. Title of this video, find the chords to any song on guitar in 3 steps. Any song in 3 steps. I have never seen this video before, so this is an absolute, honest, truthful response to it. I have seen the thumbnail many times to this video entitled, Find the Chords to Any Song on Guitar in 3 Steps without tabs or sheet music. I have concerns with this title, because it's a very bold claim. One of the first things I'm thinking of is like, what if it's a song that doesn't even use chords? How in the heck can something like this be useful for death metal, thrash metal, things that have a lot of crazy moving parts? When I see a title like this, it gets me irritated because I don't think it's true. But he might prove me wrong. We're even going to take what he teaches in this video and apply it to songs I don't think it's going to work. I am coming into this with a negative mindset because I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but please prove me wrong. Let's find out what he has to say.
Have you ever seen those musicians who can just listen to a song once and figure the whole thing out? No tabs, no sheet music, they just listen to it, maybe fiddle around a bit with their instrument, and they know the song? Well, you're probably thinking to yourself, they've got to be a musical genius or a prodigy or something to be able to do that, right? Nah. Now I kind of feel like I'm exposing a magic trick here a little bit and some tribunal of musicians is gonna come after me and get me in trouble, but honestly, it's really easy and even a beginner can do it. So in this video, I'm gonna show you a 3-step system to find the chord.
So my first level of skepticism right there. He said, even a beginner can do this thing. I have worked with a lot of beginners, and I would say most beginners have a terrible ear. Terrible ear. They don't even know when their guitar is out of tune. But let's see what he has to say.
Chords to almost any song. Let's get into it.
Okay, so there we go. He's changed it from the title saying find the chords to any song, and then he just now said chords to almost any song. Those are 2 different things.
So the 2 things you need to know are the note names on the E and A string and the major scale and scale degrees. Minor formula. And what that formula is that each number is going to have a corresponding major or minor. So for example, the 1 chord is always major. So no matter what key you're in, that 1 chord, whether it's in the key of C, that 1 chord is going to be a C major. If you're in the key of D, that 1 chord is going to be a D, it's going to be a D major. Okay, so the whole formula is the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, the 4 chord is major, the 5 chord is major, the 6 chord is minor, and then the 7th chord is a little bit weird and different and we don't use it that often, but it is a diminished chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 7 would be there, but we're not even going to worry about that because most songs don't use that 7 chord, like I said. So you can see 1 right above it is 4. 2 right above it is 5. 3 right above it is 6. So everything lines up nice and perfect. Now, if we were to play bar chords, so hopefully you know some basic bar chord shapes, we can then apply our major minor formula. So our 1 chord would be major.
You know, what he's talking about is something that I teach my students, and it is a good thing to learn, but it applies to only things from the major scale, and it definitely does not apply to every single song, because not every single song uses these kinds of chords, nor does every single song stay within the major scale. I listen to a lot of music that does not stay within a specific key. A lot of metal stuff does not stay in a specific key. That's why I do not like these statements where people say, any song, find the chords to any song. Like, well, you can't. It is impossible, because it's impossible. It's not. Anyway, shut up. Play the video.
So step 1 is finding the key. So when we're listening to the song, we need to find the key before we can find the chords. And there are a few ways to do this, but I found the easiest way is to use a little scale shape, a little major scale shape, and to move it around until it sounds right. So the scale shape we'll use is one that I've used in many other lessons, which is just a simple major scale that looks like this.
This is a fine idea. I've taught people to do it this way as well. You start listening to a song, you start slapping some notes around until you find the note that fits, and then you kind of find like, okay, well, do we go up a whole step or a half step from this note that sounds good? And then basically you're looking for a pattern, a scale shape pattern that you know, that you're very familiar with, and then see like, okay, well, this finally fits. So yeah, using this scale to figure out the key of something you're listening to is a fantastic idea, but the problem with that is the song you're trying to figure out has to be compatible with your basic major scale. What if you're listening to something that uses harmonic minor? This scale will not work. What if you're listening to something using the half whole diminished scale? Again, this scale will not work. And that seems to be a big thing on YouTube with the big guitar lessons here. It's mostly about how to figure out things based off the major scale.
And what I'm gonna do is as I listen to the music, I'm gonna play that shape and I'm gonna move it up and down. And there's only gonna be one position on the entire fretboard where every single note I play sounds like it fits. Now this is gonna take some practice, a little bit of ear training. You're not gonna get it instantly, but once you start connecting your fingers to your ears, you'll see that it comes pretty quick. Let me show you a quick.
I feel like that contradicts what he said about beginners can do this. Maybe not contradicts, but maybe more like confirms what I said. Like, you know, when he said earlier how like, oh, beginners can use this technique to figure out these chords to almost any song. Again, beginners have horrible ears. Most of them do. If you're a beginner and you have really good ears where you can tell if a note is in key or not, you are absolutely an exception. Remember, most new guitar players can't even tell their guitar is out of tune. I am absolutely guilty of that. Absolutely. For most of us, it takes a good long while to get the ear trained to be able to know if you're in key or not, or to even know if you're like bending things properly, or if your guitar is in tune, etc.
Okay, so we're listening to the song, we can hear the chords that are happening, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our major scale shape, and I'm gonna start moving it around until it kind of sounds good. So you can hear so far, nothing sounds right. That one definitely doesn't sound right. So you can hear right there, every note. Every note sounds like it fits inside of this key. To me, it sounds right. So since that is where that major scale sounded right, what that means is we just need to find the root note of that scale. So it was on the 12th fret, and it ended up here on the 15th fret. Low E string, 15th fret, which is the same as the 3rd fret, right? Because the octave repeats. So we go E, F, F sharp, G. So G, G major. The key of the song is in G major. So for step 2, now that we know the key of the song, now we get to use our little chord roadmap that I showed you earlier and apply it to the song. So because the key of the song is in G major, that means we find a G note on our low E string, right there, the 3rd fret, and we find our diatonic chords, which are chords that naturally occur inside of this key. So we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor. And once you've identified those, we can go right to step 3, which is to listen and locate. And what I mean by that is use your ear to listen to the song, listen to where the chords change, because you can hear where the chords change, and try out the different chords to see which ones from that key, from your allowed chords, fit the song. So before I show you another example, we've got step 1, which is finding the key of the song. We've got step 2, which is identifying your chord roadmap. And then we've got step 3, which is to listen and locate which chords exactly from the key are being played.
I'm disappointed that real songs were not used here, and they're just like chord progressions. I don't know if he made the chord progressions, if he took these like backing tracks off of YouTube or what, but these were not real world examples, in my opinion, because he did not take actual songs and start to use his method to figure it out. Now, could he have done that? Sure. Maybe he didn't do it because he didn't want to deal with like copyright issues, demonetization, things like that, because that is a risk doing this sort of thing. If the owner of the song doesn't like you using said song for anything at all, well, then that part of the video might get muted. You might have to remove it from the video in order to have the video shown. So yeah, if that's why this guy here decided not to use real songs to just avoid the copyright thing, I don't blame him. But still, I would prefer that he would take the chance and just try some songs and actually show it there. He is correct that pop songs tend to use the same kinds of progressions over and over again. A lot of metal songs do that as well, but we're talking about the more melodic stuff. Like, yeah, Iron Maiden uses the same type of chord progression a lot. A hell of a lot. But when you start getting into the more extreme stuff, more progressive stuff, this little trick that he's doing here will not work. So what he's showing here is great for pop music, rock stuff, things that are very simplistic. But when it comes to extreme metal, no, it's not going to work. When it comes to all kinds of, yeah, with jazz music, it's definitely not going to work. So when it comes to jazz stuff, yeah, they usually have similar chord progressions in that genre, like the 2-5-1 is used a lot. However, he's only demonstrating basic major and minor chords. Jazz uses a ton of really nutty chords, like they have just, 4, 5, 6 different intervals being played at the same time. So like if you're playing like a major chord over dominant 7 sharp 9, it's not gonna sound very good. So for all those watching this right now, if you come across videos that claim anything like this, find the chords to any song on guitar, etc., to any song, it's just not real. It's not true. So if you try these things and you're like, why is this not working? 1, your ear may not be good enough to figure it out yet. And 2, perhaps the song you're trying to figure out, it just will not work with this method.
So one important thing to note with all this is that I didn't touch on non-diatonic chords. That's because I can only fit so much information into one video before I totally overwhelm you. But there are songs and chord progressions out there that do pull chords that are outside of the key. So
all right, well, that's good that he's including this right now, but it also contradicts the video title that he used. So he's now saying how there are non-diatonic chords that can step out of key and all that, which is good. But again, that does not go along with find the chords to any song on guitar in 3 steps. So my little conclusion here, as far as what I'm thinking, I also get that titles such as the one I don't like are used because it gets clicks. It gets clicks and it gets views. So is there any way we can actually stop doing that, even if it means sacrificing views? Because if we're gonna make bold claims like that that are just not true, how is that actually truly helping those who wish to learn? Can it get people to learn important things? Sure. But I don't see why we have to always use outlandish claims in our video titles just to get clicks. I think it would be a lot better if everyone started being more honest in their titles in order to actually help people get this information the best way possible. Let's stop making bold bullshit claims in our titles, please.